Hello everyone and welcome to Beyond SEO with Growthack.io, where we look at what really drives growth for brands. From search and content to product data and strategy, we dive into the ideas and conversations that go way beyond SEO. I'm Glenn and I'm with Kevin, and today we are joined by Azeem Ahmad, and we're really happy to have you here, Azeem. How are you?
Thank you very much for having me. It is a pleasure, and I wish people watching this could see the setup because it is incredible. If I wasn't nervous before, I certainly am now, so I'll do my best to do your podcast justice. But in all seriousness, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, no, really happy to have you here to be chatting about essentially B2B and how B2B brands can essentially grow or stand out, because it's one of those things where we've noticed that B2B brands tend to struggle when it comes to really putting themselves out there.
Definitely, yeah, and we really appreciate you making the trip as well. And yeah, we're not in London or anything like that, so making the trip all the way to Nottingham is much appreciated.
It's all good. It's one of the driving factors for me to come here because it's important that the industry outside of London continues to grow. So thank you for making this happen, and again, thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. It's such a pleasure.
Yeah, no, really happy to have you. So before we get into the topic of today, if you could give a brief intro to yourself and your background.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Azeem Ahmad, also known as Azeem Digital in the industry for reasons because people have issues spelling my last name, and if you want to be found on Google, that's an issue. I've been in the industry for over 10 years now. The very brief version is I started off agency side, spent a huge chunk of my time brand side, and now I'm back in the world of agency. I've worked across multiple channels and sectors. I started off in one particular channel and then decided that the world was bigger than that one thing. Just was very hungry and keen to learn more, grew. And now I look after multiple channels, strategies, and I'm pleased to say I've operated on not only on a local but also a global level as well. And outside of that, I've been very honoured to have been invited to do lots of conferences, give talks at conferences from all over the UK, Europe, and a particular highlight for me was earlier this year in January, which seems like such a long time ago, I should say. I was invited over to Florida, to Disney World, to give a keynote session there, which was incredible by itself. But as a huge Marvel fan, I had to just resist the urge to not be like the whole time. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
No, that's awesome.
Amazing. That's amazing. We can resonate with that message, where you said that you started in one channel, but the world is so much bigger than that. I think as marketers, we get obsessed with our channel, and we want to kind of shout about it and then forget about the bigger picture. And this is exactly why we started this podcast to highlight that. So yeah, appreciate you being on the same page with us.
You've worked with some incredible B2B global brands. From the times you've worked with those B2B brands, what key challenges and wins have you noticed over the time working with the experience that you've gained working with those B2B brands?
I think for me, the best way I would describe this is I would separate them from internal challenges, business challenges, to external, the ones that the customers see. Internal, a lot of them I think can be overcome challenges, but you have to encounter them for them to be overcome. You can't sort of plan ahead. So for context, what I mean is I think the biggest internal challenge with B2B brands is communication. Multiple layers, multiple people, multiple levels of sign-off, for example. Your immediate manager might say, Azeem, this is a great idea, but then you have to almost kind of sell it upwards in the business. And then that becomes difficult because you're not speaking to the person above on a day-to-day basis. You might not have that personal relationship with them. So the point I'm getting at there is you have to build relationships internally before you start considering building relationships externally. And that leads me nicely onto the point about externally, because B2B is inherently different to B2C, as we all know. And a lot of it is about relationship building. And I'm sure in all the hundreds, thousands of episodes that you'll do, no pressure, but now you have to deliver them, you'll hear often that people will say when customers want B2B, there are at least over 5 decision makers. Depending on where you read, it's 5, 7, 10, 15. The point is it's more than 5 people who have to make that decision. And the challenge there is, again, communication. One of the things that I learned, and it was actually thanks to a LinkedIn conference that I went to, where they talked specifically about reaching B2B audiences. One of the things that I learned very quickly is how you adopt your communication style based on the person that you're talking to. Because external people who want your product, software, service, solution, they've all got a different need. So for example, your face-to-face contact will be like, I need this to solve an issue that I've got. The finance department will probably be thinking, it solves an issue for Azeem. Does it solve an issue for us in the sense of cost? And also, has Azeem talked to at least 3 to 5 different vendors? That's a huge hurdle. I've had conversations with people where I didn't really want to have that conversation with those tools or providers, but for the sake of process, I've had to. And it's just a waste of time, really. And it's just a case of, I think the one thing that I'd love the audience to take away from this is mastering that communication. In some cases, people will probably still have to have those conversations, but addressing them head on. If you approach them with like a negative mindset, thinking, I've already gone with solution A and I'm going to talk to solution B just for the sake of ticking a box. If you approach it with that mindset, you might not unlock something that they may have that solution A may not have. So always being open about it, because no matter what, it has to happen. And if you just sit there like, I've got to have this chat now, I'm already thinking about what I'm going to have for lunch or whatever, I'm not interested in it. But actually they say something like, hold on, we need what you've just said. The vendor or the provider of that service or software will immediately see your change in approach and be like, well, he didn't seem interested in the beginning and now he is. And then again, you kind of tarred that relationship a little bit. So being honest, great communication is a winner for sure.
Yeah. No, I like that you went through the, I suppose, tiers of communication, because I know I can imagine with B2B specifically, there's different stakeholders involved or different people involved. So like what you were saying before, the finance department, they'll probably be looking for a solution for a specific software in terms of like cost effectiveness, like what you just touched on. Or another department might be looking for specific needs relating to that specific software if you are selling a SaaS product. So being able to tailor your communication in that instance basically can allow you to not just, or better communicate that specific product to different tiers of people within that business to increase the likelihood of potentially getting that sale. So that makes a lot of sense for sure.
Yeah, and my personal experience. So I was in-house, B2B experience for a bit. And the communication, it is like politics, literally. And you have to play the game. And there's a lot of egos involved. And sometimes people want to make it their idea. So, I think, you have to be very tactful. And, how have you navigated that? I mean, for me personally, I had a good manager. Like you said, that immediate relationship, if you've got that solid, then it makes things a lot easier, because then they can, sell it upwards, etc. But how have you navigated that?
For me, there's 2 ways I can approach this. Excuse me, and I'll answer at the end. I'll start at the beginning. I'll start at the end is what I wanted to say. You talked about a good manager. That is fundamental. For me, I've been lucky to work with a few brilliant managers, and I define brilliant as them allowing me the space to achieve our goals, not mine, our goals. So I know that if I can do this thing that will help my manager, in turn it will help me. And some people do, but I don't work best where people say, we need to get from A to B, but you must follow steps 1, 2, and 3 to do it. I might be able to get from A to B in a completely different, faster, more efficient, delete as appropriate way. And that's the way that I've managed teams as well. Some of the best ideas I've had, in fact, it was when I was in brand side B2B. I had an apprentice working with me, and she was on a 6-month rotation across all the departments. And for all intents and purposes, she arrived to my department super flat. And she was like, look, I'm just not enjoying it. People are just treating me as like, the bottom rung of the business or whatever. And I could see that she wasn't enjoying it. And the whole point of these rotations were for her to find her place in the business. And as marketing, we're lucky we can be a little bit more creative. And I was like, right, it could be very easy for me to just give you the traditional boring, data entry or manual jobs. But I thought, well, I'll give you something that's more creative, because we're in a creative industry, and I'll give you the license to do it as long as you do it within the remits of the job. And I will sit down with her and say, typically, this is what we've done in the past, and this is the audience we want to try and reach to, but we're having a bit of a disconnect. What do you think? And if you approach them on that human level, which I'll share a bit more later on, you unlock massive, massive results. There are a few things where she'd change processes for me for the better that I just hadn't even considered. And then I can then take them back to the wider business and then say, look, this is a great idea. And she's come up with it. It's not mine. She's come up with it. Treat them equally. I don't see hierarchy. If you treat people equally, you'll get the treatment that you want back in return. And then to answer your question about challenges, it has been a thing, it currently is a thing, and it will always will be a thing. And I think I'm probably a bit, I don't know if naive is the right word. I've been through it myself, and I know now. So my mindset is there will always be egos. There will always be people in the business who are very narrow-minded and will think about themselves and are only for the betterment of themselves. I just let those people continue. My main thing is now, which I'm still adopting today, is any decision that I make has to be for the betterment of the business, not for me or for my team. If it moves the needle for the business in the right direction, I'm happy to do it. I used to be like, I've come up with this idea, I've come up with this procedure, I want the recognition for it. When you're junior or moving up in the business world, I think that's key for people, the right people above you, to see, like, oh, Azeem's done this. Now, because I'm in more senior conversations and in boardrooms and whatnot, I don't do that part where I say, I've done this, look at this, I've done this. Like, you know, when a child's done a great picture and you're like, yeah. I just don't do that anymore. I just create the piece of work, and if it moves the needle for everyone, great. And then when we're in the boardroom, I will say it, but in a more subtle way. So these are our business goals for the next 3, 5, 10 years. I've put this in place because we didn't have it before, and the purpose of it is it will benefit us in this, this, and this. So to answer your questions, egos will always be there. You can't stop them. It's just about navigating them. There will always be internal friction. There will always be people who disagree with you. There will always be people who, in meeting rooms, certainly in the B2B world, will talk over you, overcut you, take your idea and present them as their own. Ultimately, I find that to be a very short-term way of thinking, and karma, for example, will always catch up with them. And those are the types of people, I've got no data behind it to show, but those are the types of people who will always have very short tenures, will move on after, 6, 8, 9 months, and they'll find that they're the common denominator. If you just carry on with the right focus and the intention, I've always been about good intention. The right intention is in moving the needle for the business forward. You're onto a winner for sure.
That's amazing. And the fact that you helped that really junior person enter into the industry and gain confidence. Because the challenge is, I think when you're a lot quieter or when you don't have authority in a business, it's so difficult. So you being her champion was really great. And I think sometimes we have to experience a bad manager and then a good manager, and then understand the differences. So I think how you've explained that is amazing. A lot of leaders can learn from that for sure. I'm sure we've all had our experiences of bad management.
I could be here for 3 hours telling you about all the bad managers that I've had, but I'm better for the experience for sure. In that moment, absolutely not. You feel like you're drowning, but I'm sat here now thinking I'm actually a lot richer for that experience.
Cool.
Not financially, to be clear.
Yeah, and it feels like gone are the days now where you can just have a team that just shuts up and just listens to what the same top of the line management does or says. It feels like now everyone in the team, especially if you want to grow in the current landscape, you need to have everyone thinking of creative ideas, and to be stifling that, especially say if you're in a leadership position, thinking like, oh, you're the ideas person, no one else can kind of contribute to that. It can just overall limit the business. And what you were saying, Azeem, all the ideas that you're thinking of, you want obviously everyone else in the team to be contributing towards the inevitable goal of the business thriving. So you don't really achieve that really if you're in a leadership position and you're just being like, right, I'm the ideas person, you guys just listen to what I say. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that those specific challenges are exclusive to B2B. I think it's a common business thing. Everyone is time poor, more often than not. Some people are time poor all the time. But again, I've been in situations where I've worked with like a CMO, for example. We've done great campaigns. We've got a story to tell. Even when things haven't worked well, we'll address it and try and hit it head on. And we're planned and ready. Everything's good to go. CMO will come out and say, I've looked at the data. Tell this story in the boardroom. Completely different story. And then we don't have that data to match it up. We're being asked to bend the data to tell a story that's been pre-written, which is a half truth, which will obviously serve somebody else's purpose and not ours. And although it's not unethical, it's just not right, because the team has done the work. And again, like you're saying, where there's that disconnect, nobody wins. You might win in the short term, but then whenever you do your end of year review or your quarterly or half year review, well, people will always look back at that moment and be like, well, hold on, in October you said things were looking really good.
Yeah.
And now what's going on? So it will always come back to bite you on the backside for sure.
No, it does. We've certainly seen that. I think working with clients, and where some agencies, not to name and shame or anything like that, but I think it's a known practice where agencies kind of, how can I say, embellish the figures, or maybe not say things that are quite significant, in reporting especially. And we try and take an honest approach. So if something's not quite right, then you kind of have to point it out, because in 6 months, 12 months down the line, and business isn't ticking over like it should, then you're gonna have some serious questions, and then you're gonna have to defend yourself. So if you get in front of a lot of problems, it's a lot easier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say with that scenario, the chickens always come back to roost. So that's 100% true. So you've recently moved in-house.
Agency.
Or agency side, and obviously from in-house before. What motivated that transition, and what's that transition been like for you?
Initially, it was challenging, don't get me wrong. Now, I love it. For me, I was in-house for a long time, I should say. And the opportunity came to join Reflect Digital, which is where I am now. I'm the strategy director there. It came about in a sort of strange way, basically. So Becky, our CEO, I'd done a lot of conferences and talks with her, and her husband, Paul, CEO, was there as well. We'd done events, so I'd seen and I was aware of them in the past, and I'd stood on stages before or after, and I'd watched their talks and thought, you know what, this is like, they talk a lot about behavioral science, something that wasn't really familiar with at the time, and how you can blend that into performance marketing and just take it up a notch. And I used to sit there in the audience thinking, that looks wild. Like, I would love to work with that agency as a client. And then fast forward, the opportunity came up and I just jumped at it with both hands. I did recognize that it was in-house to agency, but it wasn't a blocker for me, because my career started in an agency and I'm 100% richer skills-wise for it, because in an agency, there's no choice. It's sink or swim. You have to learn. You have to learn fast. I took all those skills from my first few years at an agency, went in-house, and managed to bring about a load of change for the businesses that I worked with. Not always positive, but that's the nature of the beast. But luckily, more positive than negative. And then when the opportunity came up, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm 100%. It's an area that I don't know about, behavioral science. And I've always been of the mindset that I need to keep learning. That's why I moved out of single channel thinking into broader multi-channel thinking, now more into strategy, because marketing world is huge, and that's where I'm at. Like, I have to keep learning. I always say that, I'm going to get the analogy wrong, but I'll always say, if I have too many 7 out of 10 days and I'm not learning, I'll get comfortable. You don't grow if you're comfortable. Growth happens when you become uncomfortable. So I threw myself into this world. It was agency, a lot of processes, a lot of procedures and stuff are different. It was a learning phase. I'm remote a lot of the time, so I was worried about being in a senior leadership role. How will I bring about those leadership skills to a team that's remote? But the main one was, it's behavioral science. I don't know anything about it. I was upfront about that. I was like, I know probably about as much as the other average person, and from what I've seen from your talks. But that opportunity to learn and to grow a lot for myself, I was like, it's a no-brainer. The positives always outweigh the negatives, and I won't spend too much time talking about this, but whenever friends in the industry talk to me about moving on or doing something that involves them making a huge decision for their career, I will always say, go old school, put yourself in a room, no technology, split a piece of paper in half, write down all the good things about the decision and write down all the bad things. Whichever list is longer, there's your decision. If the cons outweigh the pros, don't do it. If the pros outweigh the cons, go for it. And the point is, do that like freestyle. Don't sit there and intently think, I need 6 pros because I've got 6 cons.
Yeah.
When it comes from here, then it's the right decision for sure.
Yeah, you have to follow your gut. Yeah, and in my experience, your gut tends not to be wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
And no, it's quite interesting, you know, that debate in-house versus agency. And I've got split experience, and Glenn, you've got split experience as well.
Yeah.
And it's so helpful because, I started in-house as a junior, then moved agency. And I kid you not, I learned more in the first 2 weeks at the agency versus my 10 months in an in-house role.
Wow.
You just learn so many skills, and you're forced to learn.
Yeah.
Because you got clients asking questions. You're sitting next to very experienced people as well. That have worked on so many different accounts. Yeah. You know, my first mentor, Mark, you know, he owns an agency now and he's really successful. But he was like a whiz. He knew like paid really well. He knew SEO really well. He just understood marketing. He just got it. And I was sat next to him. So you're just forced to just learn and pick up all these things. And it was amazing. And then, you know, from agency, then you move into an in-house role. And people can look up to you now because you've got the agency experience. You know, they can look to you for the answers. Because you're basically working with a client, one client instead of 10. And yeah, you can be really effective. So now I resonate with that a lot. And I think, people need to get a flavor of both. For sure.
Yeah, 100%. You can't speak about something if you haven't done it or lived it. Like if somebody has been in-house their entire career, they're absolutely allowed to have opinion on agency life, don't get me wrong. But until you've lived it, the validity of it or the strength of it, for want of a better word, will arguably be less than somebody who's lived and breathed it. The best example I can give you is I couldn't sit here now and talk to both of you about hair care because it's been a while.
me and you both. I mean, I got the cap on, but you know. Now I've been I said goodbye to the hairline a long time ago.
No, that's awesome. I was just going to say as well, because I started in-house and obviously I had no full experience about agency side before getting into an agency. And when I got into agency side, it was like a massive eye opener. And it was pretty, like, if I'm being honest, like a large learning curve for me because I hadn't been in that position where I had to like manage multiple different clients in different industries. And it's quite overwhelming. And it took me a while to get used to it. And there was a point where I was just like, oh, should I go back to in-house? I never made the right choice. But after a few months, that's when I got really comfortable with, you know, handling different accounts and obviously handling different industries. And like you said, it makes you such a better marketer because at that stage, it got me to appreciate how different channels work with each other. And it got me to understanding how, obviously, since I was doing SEO, it got me to better understand how SEO connects with other different channels like paid, paid social. So yeah, it just makes you an overall better marketer. So I'm really thankful for that experience. So.
And I feel as well, like you were talking about comfort zone, you're so exposed in an agency. Like you need to get things right, you know, for all these clients, because then otherwise people will be looking at you saying, oh, why is this account not performing? Why is this client not happy? So you're very exposed, whereas in-house you're so insulated with all those layers of communication.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think, you have to I think you need to experience it. You just need to experience it at least once, I think.
Yeah, 100%. But with the right mindset, that's key because when I started at an agency, don't get me wrong, full transparency, I started in paid.
Right.
Paid is super easy. You can be on the top of Google in 30 minutes, dead easy. We had one particular client who also had SEO from the same agency. SEO department sat differently. Regularly, I would go over to them, be like, oh, I'm already top of Google. See you in 6 months, stuff like that. I used to poke holes in them and like prod them a bit. Just, you know, jest, not like actually taking the mick. But they used to get frustrated. Like we used to see emails that would come to the department like, you know, we need a little bit more traffic. I'm like, yep, no worries, I'll get you that in 30 minutes. How long is it going to take you? And always wind people up. But it's that sort of questioning and you know, Mickey taking for one was like, well, actually, hold on. If I approach this reasonably and not like as a bit of a clown, we can do some really good stuff here. So yeah, it wasn't from like a malicious place. It's more like a comical place. But from there, I would argue that that's probably where I started to think, you know what, the world's just a little bit bigger than Google Ads. And that's where I am now. Now, for example, I'll be the first to admit, I'm not an expert in Google Ads. I'm not an expert in SEO and everything else. But I understand how every channel works together and understand the strategy behind where clients or businesses want to get from here to here. I would argue now, I don't need to know how AI Max for Google Ads works, because we have specific teams who will deliver that. I just need to know where the Google Ads piece fits in the client's puzzle. The same for SEO. I couldn't tell you how to do a log file analysis. I don't need to know how to do that. We have specific teams who have that expertise to do it. My expertise lies in where do all these pieces fit together? How does it benefit the client? Not this month, but this year, or the next 3 years and next 5 years. And those experiences that I mentioned have made me richer as to where I am now. So although it started fun, by all means, I could have easily just been like lived in a paid bubble, and I probably wouldn't be sat here now having this conversation with you. So I'm a lot better for the experience for sure.
Yeah, that segues really nicely into what I wanted to ask. So looking at your career, what turning points would you say have shaped how you approach marketing in general?
I think for me, like I said, I started in paid, and in my head I'm thinking, and although the thousands of episodes that you're going to do, everybody's going to say AI has changed it all. For me, I'm going to be different. I was in paid for a long time, and how I used to describe it to my team was, I used to use the analogy of a car. Like, we know enough now to get the car to move, as in the sense of you do your keywords, put the ads live. Where I started to get interested was, how does a car actually work? What's under the bonnet if you look under it? How do all those parts work? If this car broke down, right now all I can do is put the key in and drive. If the car broke down, I wouldn't know how to fix it. So in that channel, I started to proverbially look under the bonnet and look at like strategy, how it all fit together in that one channel. The more I did that, I thought, well, actually the world's bigger than just paid. So I started looking at paid social. I was like, well, actually there's a lot of similarities here, in the sense of you apply the same tactics and can get almost the same results, different costs. And then again, that willingness to grow kept coming. And then I just thought, well, hold on, actually, a lot of this experience is paid. And there's a whole world out there that is very similar from the outside, but you don't have to pay anything to do it. And it's all organic, and you can achieve the same results, albeit over a longer period of time, by not spending a penny. And I was like, well, actually, this is really interesting. Spent a lot of time doing that, put them together. There wasn't one particular moment that I thought, do you know what? This is my sort of like light bulb on moment. I think for me, it happened over a period of time, and like I said, constantly wanting to learn. So for me, it was like I've done paid, I've cracked paid social, started to take a look at SEO, great, understood it, moved on. Then I realized very quickly the world is bigger than just words on a page or words on a website. That's when I started getting into a bit of podcasting, audio marketing, video marketing, and I was like, well, actually, all of these things have a place in the customer's journey. And there's one slide I'll bring into all of my conference decks, and I'll refuse to change it because it's from Universal Analytics, which is now dead. Rest in peace. Bring it back if you're watching this, Google. But it's the multi-channel funnels from Google Analytics. And what I did from there, I took a client's purchase journey, but I went from the bottom up instead of the top down. Top down will always be direct conversion or paid direct conversion. The bottom is where the gold is. And I always say, and I put that up on the screen, and you'll see 30 or 40 different nodes. It'll be paid, referrals, social, video, everything. Split it out, every channel you can think of under the sun. I'll take that and say, this is how some of your customers are finding you. They will search on Google 16 times, then they'll come to you directly, then they'll watch a video, then they'll come back and read a blog, and then they'll search for you more different times. They'll click through a paid ad, and it'll go through 30 or 40 times. The number one thing I'll say when I speak to businesses is, if you reduce my budget for a video, for example, I'll take that out of the journey. But then how confident are you that those customers will still find us? The car analogy is one that's used all the time. In fact, I did have a large automotive OEM client. I don't know if I can name them, but we'll tell you off the camera. Huge global presence, 26 different markets. We did a huge amount of work for them. I used exactly that principle and said, if you want to reduce this budget, how confident are you that they'll carry on? And we had the data. Somebody's car purchase journey starts biggest car for a family of 4. They don't know the brand at that point, but they'll search and search. They'll watch videos, etc., etc. The journey happens. I think it's over, from what I remember, 9 months and over 600 or 700 different touch points. That's a lot. If you take out one thing from that journey, it's like taking a slot out from a bridge. Are you confident they're still going to be able to cross it? And if you notice, in none of my language there have I spoke about money, budgets, or put a financial value on it. I just literally back the question back and stay silent and just say, how confident are you that's going to happen? So a roundabout way of saying there wasn't one particular thing that made me think I need to grow. It just comes from a constant desire of wanting to learn. And I've always been very hard and fast on that. And I'll tell myself, and I'll say it publicly on camera now, when that desire goes, I should go from the industry. If I get too comfortable, I've done management and leadership training where they talk about the concept of people who are RIP, not dead. It's short for retired in post. Literally just means people who come, give you those 5 out of 10 days, sit there and just not interested in doing any more than above the basics. If I ever become one of those people, I should probably leave the business, not the world, the business.
Yeah, definitely not RP, literally. But yeah, you touched on something I think quite significant. I guess in your opinion, is that what separates somebody who's just, a marketing specialist versus somebody who's a leader in marketing, understanding that bigger picture and how things fit in. And, obviously you're in a more of a leadership position now. If somebody is wanting to be, let's say, a CMO, or if somebody is wanting to move up the ranks, what do you feel, they need to have to make that jump? Because obviously, people can be really good marketers and really good specialists. And I've met so many really, really good technical people, but sometimes those technical people aren't great leaders within marketing. Yeah. So, what would you say to those people?
The number one thing is confidence, not arrogance, confidence. So you'll probably hear the phrase battered around loads, but if the business can move forward while you're not there for 2 weeks, call it the holiday test. If you went on holiday for 2 weeks, would the same level of output be delivered? If not, then you need to work on how you're leading that particular team to get that outcome. The best teams will perform even when that person isn't there. What I used to do in the past was I used to live and breathe this particular channel and thing. I used to own it and protect it. When I was in charge of that particular client, I used to be super precious about it. If I ever went on holiday, I'd probably check in or look at it and be like, this is my thing. Like, it's like, I treat it like an egg. You can't
Your
break
baby.
it. Yeah. Don't ruin it. Nobody else can look after it. For a while, that's okay. Yeah. But if people want to progress, you have to have that confidence in the people around you. And I'm being very careful with my language, saying around, not underneath or above or below, the people around you. The people traditionally who are lower in the hierarchy, you need to give them the confidence that they can do these more senior level things. And the people above you, stereotypically, you need to let them see that, well, actually, Azeem's taken this thing away from me that now frees me up to do something else. And subconsciously, it will compound. It's like SEO. I didn't want to make any SEO related things, but I've just done one. It compounds over time. Don't be that person like who's done it and be like, I've done it. Be that person who, when the time comes and things start to happen naturally, it's like, well, actually, Azeem let me do this. I don't normally do that. Like I gave you the example of the junior, the apprentice. I gave her more freedom to do things that she probably didn't do in the past. Over time, that will compound. So that, for me, is what separates a good leader from a great leader. Good leaders can lead. Anybody can lead. Don't get me wrong. The horrible example, but anybody with a qualification can be a football manager. But not all managers get results. The best leaders get results. Now, the manager isn't on the pitch with the players. The manager's job is to empower them to go out and get the result. And that's where you become a good leader. If I went away and got a qualification now for football management, I could lead a team. I could manage a team. Could I lead them? I very much doubt it. And that's where it becomes a thing. Like, the manager's not on the pitch with the players getting that result. And that's what, for me, separates a good leader from a great one. Nice. Arsene Wenger, let's call him.
You just
Arsene Wenger.
Yeah, you just made me think of Football Manager. There's times I've played Football Manager and FIFA for so long. Like I like to think like, oh yeah, I can give advice on football, but like the actual thing, like it takes way more than that.
Yeah, anyone can get onto FIFA and or EA FC, whatever it's called now, and be the best manager in the world and know all the tactics, etc. But to actually deal with people and empower them, that's a completely different story. I think I think personally speaking, obviously Glenn's joined Growthack, and it's the first time I'm kind of trying to transition into more of a leadership role, and I have caught myself sometimes doing too much and getting too involved. So, I do apologize, but yeah, sometimes you kind of have to stop yourself.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hang on a minute. No, I need to just let it go.
Yeah, that's it.
and just kind of, empower that person to take responsibility, own it, and gain their own confidence. Otherwise, they're always going to be looking at you. And I'm trying to do that. So yeah, it's a transition.
Yeah,
but
100%.
We'll get in there.
You'll realize it when you're not aware of it. 100%. Look back at this moment and you'll realize it when you're not aware of it. If you consciously say, oh, I want you to pick up tasks A, B, and C, fine, you'll get the result. But when you start doing tasks A, B, and C without him asking you to do it, you'll one day sit there and think, I need to pick this up. Actually, no, he's already done it. And you'll have that moment where it's like, I've got a good one here.
Yeah.
And those, you won't realize it until it happens. If you consciously do it, you'll probably get there, but I'd argue it would take you longer. Those moments where you start taking things off his desk, he's going to be like, you know what? Got a good one. I need another one. And then before you know it, you'll start progressing. And then, who knows, in however many years' time, you'll have a massive team of so many different people, if that's what your goal is.
Oh gosh, no, definitely not. Definitely,
you'll be on episode 1000 or something, whatever.
Definitely not. I mean, the first goal is maybe just try to get to 10 episodes. I think would be an achievement for us. But yeah, no, it's been a journey, and I think even looking at Sarif, like sometimes Sarif would do something, right? Like Sarif works at Growthack, works in our team, and he started as an intern.
Yeah,
a 6-week internship. And before, I'd have to tell him what to do, etc., and I give him a list of things. But now, like, he's doing stuff. And I've not even asked him to do it. Or he'll prepare for a meeting. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, this is really good. I didn't ask him to do any of this. Like, he's like just doing stuff that no one's asking him to do. Yeah. And he's now transitioned from part-time to full-time. And I've seen a lot of growth from him even within that transition. And it's really nice to see that. I think that's the best bit about what we do in the industry. Like seeing people come through. And I think that's it's been such a valuable experience for me just to see that, from where he started to just honestly, like, he's getting so many good results for clients. Like, it's crazy. He's owning like content planning. A client can start with like no traffic on their blog, and he's like taking it, and you will see in the graphs. I know people are saying like Google's dead and all that stuff, and it's all about ChatGPT, but he's getting really effective results, and that is due to him. That's nothing to do with me. It's due to him and how he's taken on a leadership role himself. And it's I think that's the best bit about I think about what we do. I think when you can bring people up.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's just as much about the results that you get from people internally as it is for clients as well. If everybody was getting results for the clients but you were all unhappy, it'd probably be not the best place to work. If you're all happy and not getting results for clients, you wouldn't have any clients. So it's trying to find that balance, really. So I'm glad it's working out for you all, and I hope it continues.
Indeed. So wanted to shift gears.
Go.
So you're an active international speaker. You've spoken at Brighton SEO, spoken at Google, Mars, obviously talked about Disney Florida, where you've got obviously a keynote speaker spot there. I wanted to ask, for someone who's looking to get into that, what should they do to kind of kickstart to get on that road essentially to becoming a speaker, and what inspired you essentially to get into speaking essentially?
I'll tackle the inspiration bit first, because that was super easy for me. It was I was at Brighton SEO once, and I just, in the nicest possible way, I know I've got a production team here, sorry. It was all white men, and I was like, I don't see anybody who is a person of colour. I don't see myself, basically. And there were not a lot of women at the time. Not a reflection on the conference at all, because we had a conversation about it and they were like, yep, we're going to make changes, and they have done. But for me, it was like, look, I don't see myself on the stage. So I'm going to these events for the betterment of myself and my career, but I don't know how well it's going to land with me, because I don't see somebody like me doing it. So I was like, I want to do this, not just for myself, but for any other Azeem who comes further down the line. And that's how I got into my setting up my own podcast and stuff. That was the whole ethos behind it. I wanted to talk to women, people of colour, anybody who's typically marginalised. I didn't care if they had 330, 3,000, 3 million followers. If they wanted to have a chat, we would. And very quickly on that, there was one point where I was doing my podcast. I can't remember the exact number, but it was above the 20th episode. I was just getting tired, like up here as well as physically, and I just thought about packing it in. And the best conversation I had with somebody it was off the camera. She was a black solo business owner. She was from London. She had her own business. We had a chat. I didn't know her until she'd reached out to be on the podcast. We had quite a frank chat off the recording. I was like, it was really good. I'm not much sure how much longer it's going to last. She was like, please don't stop. And she was like super passionate about it. She was like, I don't want to hear you say that, and I want to come back and see that you've got to episode 30 and 40 and whatever, because I've loved your podcast. It's totally different. It's not like anything else that's out there. It's just guys talking to guys. You're giving people opportunities to have that chance of speaking. And in the beginning, don't get me wrong, I only had 30 odd listeners. And then at its peak, it got to the top 5 in the UK and top 10 in the world for digital marketing podcasts. Wow. And that wasn't a goal of mine. It was just to give people a voice. So I was super pleased with that. And something like that, you just need that validation that somebody else to say, well, actually, I need this. And I was like, great. My advice for people who want to get into this world is, sounds cliche, but don't be afraid. The number one thing I hear from people all the time, and I'm sure that you both have probably heard it as well, I can't talk about SEO because all the things that I know about it have already been spoken about. I can't talk about, how to do topic clusters. There's been 10 talks about it already. I can't talk about how you do an audit. 100 talks on it already. People put barriers up for themselves before they've even begun. Yes, there might be 100 talks on audits already, but they might do audits differently to how you might do an audit. Your perspective is valuable to somebody else. Once you get over that first hurdle of somebody else has talked about it, you've got then a free runway to start putting your own opinions and voices out there. And the second thing beyond that is people often wait and they'll pitch and pitch and pitch to a conference, rejection after rejection after rejection. When I've done coaching or training with people to get them onto a stage, I'll say, you'll create a pitch, you'll fill it in, it's just words on a page, you'll send it off, you're probably one of hundreds. Set yourself apart by recording a 30-second or a 2-minute video saying, I'm Azeem, I've pitched for Brighton SEO, I've got an opinion on how you do audio and video marketing, and I think these are the things that people will learn from it, and I'd love to be a part of your conference if you'll have me. There already, you've done something different to everybody else. You've created a bespoke thing for that conference. So immediately there'll be a pile of, not CVs, a pile of responses that they'll discard because they'll think, oh, Azeem, he's done loads of conferences, he just wants another one to his list now. Like, it doesn't feel like it's something for this particular conference. Whereas you've got Joe or Jay and Blogs who's literally gone out their way and said, I want to speak at this conference because I know your audience and I think they'll benefit from A, B, and C. You're not in, but you're very close to in. In is never guaranteed. But if you do everything that's within your control to get yourself there, if a rejection comes, it won't hit you as hard because there's nothing else that you could have done. Short of like literally driving down to their office and banging on the door saying, please. But the point is, something that I say all the time, personally and professionally, is focus on what's in your control. And putting a barrier up for yourself is in your control. Immediately when people say, oh, people have already spoken about this, you've put a barrier up, but you're in control of putting it there. You're also in control of removing it. So just don't be afraid. Get the first one done, and then before you know it, you're flying. I never set out on this journey with the goal of going to Florida or speaking in America or whatever. But when it happened, I was like, this is wild. But again, the very first time I went and did a talk in America, like, I approached it head on. The first time I did it, my first ever MozCon talk, I was like, this is wild. A lot of the American audience don't know me. I realized that I speak fast. This is either going to be really good or you're never going to see me again. And then you've got them on side and they start laughing and stuff, and you can see now that people are resonating with you. And once you're there, embrace it because you've been chosen for that moment. You will be nervous, and nervous is fine, but people are there to see and learn from you. Embrace it, because the second that it's over, you're going to be like, I want to do another one now. I've got the bug now. And that's what it was for me, for sure.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned the barrier thing, because I think before anyone can even think about starting something, for some reason, I think it's just like a human biological thing.
Yeah.
Just always think of like, oh, I can't do this because of X.
Yeah.
Or, I want to start this, but it's already been covered.
Yeah.
And I think a key part of just starting is, like what you said, before even trying to think about the barriers, just start.
Yeah.
Essentially. And also if you say you want to build your own brand or you want to do like the public speaking stuff, really just understanding that, yes, there may have been so many talks on a specific topic, but your unique perspective on things might be able to reach someone. And obviously with the example of the podcast, when you're thinking of closing it down, the person that you had on as a guest, or like, no, please don't, because your unique perspective essentially spoke to that specific person. And obviously it's not just that one person, it could also be potentially thousands of other people. So yeah, not being too discouraged by that and really thinking to yourself, oh no, yeah, I know this topic has been covered before, but I've got my own perspective on things. I've got my own kind of interpretation of how you can do X, whether that's, paid social, SEO, or anything outside of marketing, for example. Just being able to have that awareness of the fact that, yeah, there's so many voices out there and your voice can also reach other people in different ways than what other people have done. So that definitely makes a lot of sense for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's such a challenge. I think you've given us some really good advice that we can personally take on as well, because I often stop myself from maybe pitching for a talk because I'm thinking, people know about all this stuff.
Yeah.
People should already know about this. It's not technical enough.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge with, like, let's say Brighton SEO is there's so many speakers and there's going to be like at least 5-10 people talking about the exact same topic.
Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of stop yourself from applying for those opportunities.
Yeah, don't let it be a hurdle. I'll share this with you because I think it's important, if not for the audience, and definitely for yourselves. When I first started giving conference talks, I did a paid specific talk, a paid specific conference. I knew the audience was a mixture of people who wanted super in-depth technical talks, like here's how you code for Google Ads, versus people who wanted the bigger picture stuff. Fast forward, I've done my talk. You get feedback from this conference. You get a score out of 5, and then you also get the detailed feedback from the attendees. It's all anonymous. The score I got, I think, was 4.1 out of 5. I was thinking, great. Love that. Happy with that. Anything above a 3, I'd be happy with. The feedback, it was literally 50-50. 50% of the feedback all had the theme of Azeem was too technical, too in-depth. It passed me by. The other 50% was Azeem was not technical enough. Azeem was too theoretical. And I sat there and I went back to the organisers and I was like, well, you know what? I don't know how to feel about this, because I pitched this knowing your audience, put it out there knowing your audience. And then they said, the amount of times people have come back and said this to us, you just have to remember that you can't please everybody. And if you go in with that mindset of, if there are 1,000 people in the room, you're not going to please all 1,000 people. Do what you can and what's within your control. That always be led by what's within your control. For example, you've started a podcast. There are millions of podcasts out there. What's within your control to grow it and make it big? Focus on those. Don't get caught up in, oh my God, we're in a space where there's hundreds, if not thousands of marketing podcasts. When I started, I was like, look, I'm not Joe Rogan. I don't have his budget. I don't have access to this. I've just got a laptop with a webcam, a microphone, and a just burning desire to shove this in front of so many different people that I want to make it work. So, like, the point is, focus on what's within your control, and you can't please everybody. That's it. Do what you do as good as you can, and then whatever happens, whether it's good or bad, like I said, it won't affect you as much because you've done everything that you could. The worst thing is, like, imagine finishing a race or any sort of fitness related thing. If you're done and you have a bit left in the tank, there'll always be a disappointment. Like, do you know what? I could have given more there. Like, I just did a half marathon a couple of weeks ago. Humble brag.
Yeah.
I finished and I thought, do you know what? I did have a bit more in the tank there. So I was happy that I finished. But then the second I crossed the finish line and the endorphins were off, I was like, do you know what? I could have done a little bit more. I could have been a little bit faster. Or you always immediately look at the negatives and the positive. Any one negative comment, I've had feedback from conferences where I'll have, I don't know, let's say 9 positives and 1 negative. I'll just hang on the negative. Azeem talked too fast. The other 9 were brilliant. Like, I've learned so many different things I can just start doing tomorrow. One of them I'm just like, Joe or Jane blogs has said I talk too fast. Now I'm just all I'm going to be thinking about on the 9-hour flight home is how do I slow down? But yeah, like I said, we'll be here all day. Just focus on what's within your control, and then you're onto a winner.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And really wanted to quickly chat through obviously B2B versus B2C. So there's this notion that, Kevin, we've spoken about this quite a few times. There's this notion where B2B gets this kind of viewpoint of it's boring. Why do you think it's like, or it's seen as that way compared to obviously B2C? Because I can imagine, you know, if it's like e-commerce, it's kind of seen as the sexier of the two. But why do you think that is, that B2B's got that notion or viewpoint?
It's gratification, isn't it? B2C, it's e-com in particular. You want something, you get it done. Great. Happy days. Everybody's happy. B2B, it's harder because it's longer. You don't get that instant thing. If I think about a software or a service, for example, in my experience, purchase journeys have been, or purchase cycles have been 12, 18, 24 months. It's hard as a marketer to get excited about, oh, do you know what? I've just built a relationship with Kevin. He's going to buy this from me in 24 months' time. Can't wait. It's just not the same. And it comes back to that gratification from the customer's point of view and from a marketer's point of view. But like I said earlier, in the world of B2B, we don't help ourselves because we try and draw similarities from the two. And it's not the same. Often, in my experience of B2B, like I said, long purchase cycles, dealing with multiple layers of seniority, multiple people in that purchase journey. It's just not the same. It's apples and oranges. And is it seen as not sexy or not attractive? Yeah, absolutely. But we as an industry, not we in this room, we've cultivated that for ourselves, 100%. And like I said, we're in control of it. We can change that narrative if as an industry we allowed ourselves to, but we don't. I don't think the three of us here in this room will change it overnight. But with the clients that we work with, the industry that we work in the sense of B2B, we can absolutely change that for sure. It's just a case of not thinking of, oh, Kevin's going to buy this from me in 24 months. Can't wait. Speak to you in 2027, Kevin. See you later. It's just not like that. It's more a case of like that relationship building. Like I've just begun a relationship with Kevin now. How can I keep him happy and how can I keep him interested in my product or my service for this amount of time? And in the world of B2B, it's different because more often than not, you have to let them go. And I'll argue that is where I'm going to hang my hat on. You have to let a customer go sometime. And what I mean by that is they have to go and research the alternatives. They have to go and look at other products or services to know that you're the best. The worst B2B marketers for me are the ones that don't let them go. If you keep shoving your brand and stuff in people's face, eventually they'll get turned off by it. You'll have great recall, don't get me wrong. They'll know who you are, but for all the wrong reasons. And the best marketers will let customers go. And the best B2B websites will have comparisons against their competitors. Even better ones will have price. Great, but price is a whole thing we could spend years about talking. But the best B2B marketers, let them go. Talk about your services, offerings. Let them go and see what else is out there. With AI now, it's probably easier because they can just shove in a quick prompt and say, I need a piece of software that will automate my accounting for me. What do you recommend? And then if you're not there, you've got something to work on. If you are there, you benchmarked against your competitors and your customers will see that you're strong enough to be recommended by them, but also what the alternatives are. And again, like I said, if there's one thing anybody takes away from this episode, it's focus on what's in your control. You have to let them go. Good services, products, B2B offerings will draw them back 100%. If they don't come back, that's a marketing issue. It's not a customer issue. It's a marketing issue for sure, 100%.
Yeah. And yeah, it goes back to kind of having your content do the kind of callback for you as opposed to you being actively trying to get that person back essentially. Where we spoke about before in a previous episode actually, where you want to build an ecosystem where your content does the kind of informing for you. You're not really having to like say actively chase that person. So yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, definitely. I've heard a saying that customers kind of make a decision before they even jump on a sales call. You know, you kind of don't want to turn them off by forcing stuff, you know, down their throat or being too aggressive. And take a really soft approach, I guess, with content And yeah, B2B is, I think for me, is becoming more creative. I think it is becoming more exciting. I think people are maybe dropping that label a bit more now. I guess modern B2B companies, I'll say. I mean, there's still some, old school companies that are kind of stuck in their ways and, oh no, we've done it this way and we're going to continue doing it this way. And, this is our tone of voice and these are our strict guidelines, etc. We don't want to be too creative. But I think a lot of the ones that are more successful now are very creative, and we worked with a really creative brand that was acquired, and they work in HR, and HR has got that boring label. But they approached it in a very creative way, and I think that's what separated them from the rest of the market.
You just made me think about this. Obviously, when I, like I said, first started in just marketing in general, I was in-house. It was B2B, and I wanted to ask, what can B2B brands learn from, I suppose, B2C brands in terms of, I suppose, branding and marketing? Because I fell into that trap as well of, I was starting out in B2B and I didn't know how to be creative because I thought, oh, if we're going to market ourselves, other corporations, other businesses, we have to be by the book and whatnot. So what would you say is something useful that B2B brands can learn from B2C?
You'll hear this a lot in all the thousands of episodes that you'll do, but it's just being more bloody human. There's all of us can sit here now and recall multiple B2B brands where you go on the website, the homepage, there's not a face there. You'd argue that you don't even know what they do because it's just corporate speak. And the point you made previously there about brands being more creative, that gap between old school B2B brands and modern B2B brands is not a gap, it's a chasm. It's huge now. Those ones are being left behind. I was at an event recently where somebody was telling me about they're thinking about doing more marketing for their brand. I was like, okay, who are you? And then they told me who they were. I was like, let's have a look at your website. So I had a look and I said, well, can I be honest? She was like, yeah. I said, I don't know what you do. I don't know what you offer. Like, I'm already turned off. The old concept of the day one list that people have of B2B brands and services, that's probably changing a little bit now with the advent of AI. But to answer your question, what can brands do? Be more human. In the B2B world, I talk a lot about thought leadership. Having people within your business who are the thought leaders in their space. You'll hear it lots. People buy from people. It's a cliche, but it's true. If there's not a face, look at your purchase journeys for B2B clients, or if you're a B2B brand, listen to this. Look at your purchase journey. At what point does a face become involved? If it's 2 or 3 clicks or nodes in, it's too late. People want to know, and they want that reassurance. And the number one hurdle that I had when I was B2B focused and I wanted to get more of this stuff done, senior levels of the business were like, we're just not sure, we're not comfortable investing in, let's say me, we're not comfortable investing in Azeem and building up his profile only for them to leave us, because then that presents a problem for us because we have to replace Azeem and that costs. But then we also have to change the website because his face is all over it, and we have to change all of our marketing because his face is all over it. The first one about the person leaving, you can't stop that. If somebody has outgrown the business and has loftier ambitions or wants to do more that your business can't help with, that's a you problem. It's not an employee problem. The second and third one, you absolutely can. The very first thing I said was, well, why don't we start introducing NDAs for employees to say, we want to get you more involved. We'd love for you to be the face. More often than not, people would say yes. The ones that don't, that's fine, don't use them. But the ones that do want to get involved, you have something super straightforward that says, I'm happy to be the face of all these materials for the next 12 months. And then you have it on a rolling basis. As a business, that then protects the person who is the face of the company or is the face of this product or service. But it also forces you to keep developing your product material offerings every 12 months. There's a lot of B2B brands that I've seen in my time that probably been 2 years or more where they've probably touched the website. And by touched, I mean probably looked at it and thought, well, actually, our customers are having a problem here. It's just one and done. And that's a problem that's endemic in B2B. Doing that betters the business and betters you. But the point is having a face. You'll hear that lots. Having a face. We had particular products or services where there was someone, it was very technical. I won't bore you with the ins and outs of it, but there was so much technical knowledge that this person had. And I was like, it's lost. It's all here. I said, what I'd love for you to do is be more open with it and share it. And they're like, well, you know what, it's on LinkedIn, and I just don't like LinkedIn. It's too corporate. It's all about, I ran over a dog and he was the one interviewing me, etc., etc. So I said, okay, I'll remove the friction for you. What's in my control? I said, you tell me what are the key features of this product or service. I got a sea of text. I'll then try and distill it down and write it in a LinkedIn friendly way. And I'll say, here's what I think you should write on LinkedIn. What do you think? He's like, oh, you've done it for me. All I have to do is log on and post. Take that friction away. But the point is, NDAs, for example, benefit you, benefit the business, and being more human for sure. Like, you'll ask 100 people that question, you'll probably get 100 versions of that answer. But I'd probably say less than 10 would say go down the NDA route. Doesn't cost you anything, protects the employee, protects the business, and it forces you both to keep evolving and adapting.
Yeah, that's so. It sounds so simple.
Yeah,
but
people don't do it.
It's very effective.
Yeah.
Being a face. And I'm thinking about the biggest brands in the world. Apple. When you think Apple, there's always a face. There's always somebody doing all these conferences and showcases of their products. It's a face doing that. It's somebody on stage doing that. Why do they invest in that? Why does Jeff Bezos still go out there and speak to people? People already bought into Amazon, but he's still having his face in front of people. So there's a lot that we can take from that. And looking at the marketing journey, is there a face there early on in the journey? I think that's quite interesting. And I mean, that's the reason why we're doing this, you know,
absolutely.
because we want people to know our faces and get to know us a bit more.
And it's got me thinking about, this is something that a lot of future B2B marketers are going to have to think of, which is a nice little segue to make me think about the next generation of B2B marketers. What would you say are the skills and mindsets that future generations of B2B marketers, what do you think they'll need to adopt in terms of skills and mindsets to essentially help B2B brands grow?
I think it's learning about the audience from the very beginning. I'm thinking about a piece of work that we just did. You'll open up LinkedIn, for example. Now, I know I certainly do. Every third or fourth post will be like, you've got to be on every channel, everywhere, all the time. That's where your audience is. I would argue that's incorrect. I would say you need to figure out who your audience are and be where they are. And that's the difference. LinkedIn is a blessing and a curse, because I use that a lot because it's very prevalent in the B2B world. It's on you how you, absorb that information. So the best thing for the next generation of future marketers are, number one, the foundation of everything is understand your audience. Second one would be to understand yourself. What is it you want to achieve? What is it you want to do? The world doesn't live and die by you becoming a junior level B2B marketer. They all have ambitions about growth or progression or whatever. In the old school world, I'm showing my age here, it would be the equivalent of, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? It's just the equivalent of that. It's how willing are you to learn, change, and adapt. Broadly speaking, I would say be more of the broader marketer rather than the specialist, because and a lot of us are quite fortunate that we've been through that journey of being single view, single channel, single attribution minded, to know that actually it's bigger. But there's a lot of information that I've given you there. If there's one thing that I would say that people could take away or to do from that answer, especially if they're a junior B2B marketer, is have your CV or have your social media profile. I've talked about LinkedIn for a lot. Have your LinkedIn page. Give it to somebody who's never seen it, or put it in front of somebody who's never seen it. You can use AI, but to an extent it's better from a human. Put it in front of them and say, what does this tell you about me? And if it doesn't match with what you want people to know about you, you then have something that you can go away and work on to say, well, actually, they think all I know is PPC, for example. All my experience is Google Ads, this, and that. They just think I'm a PPC guy. My ambition is in 5 years to lead a multi-channel marketing function. Now I know what I need to do to start thinking about it. And then you can either sink or swim with that information. You can just think, I'll just stick to Google all the time, or I'll just stick to SEO all the time. Or you can start probing and asking those questions of your colleagues who are working in SEO or video or paid or whatever. So put it in front of somebody and see what they know about you. I do this with businesses too. Like, more often than not, people use AI, which put it in front of somebody else and say, what does this business offer? Like I said, the B2B world is rife for it. Seas of text, synergy, we help people, blue sky think, this, that, it will give you a helicopter view of this. It doesn't mean anything. Like people look at that. Yeah, people just look at it and think, not interested, I'm going to go off to your competitor now. Like, if allowed, people can make even the most dry thing like fun. The example I give at conference talks loads is the legal sector. Had an issue in the past where had a client, like, it's law, it's legal, has to be factual, has to be correct. We can't make it fun. Go on YouTube, type in funniest legal advert, you'll see loads. People do it. Fun is an easy one because it makes people feel something. So I always go back to fun and humour. Once you get people feeling something, you're in. Obviously, you can make them feel angry and then they've turned off. But I've digressed slightly there. Make them feel and then understand how people perceive you. Because if you just live in a world of yourself, looking at it through your own lens, you're never going to change it. You can have an idea of, oh, I'm Azeem, I want to be this in 10 years' time. But if externally people aren't seeing that, you're only seeing half or arguably less than half of the picture, I would say.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. Now that's a lot of value there. I've got a lot of value that I think a lot of listeners will gain from that.
Definitely.
I always like to ask guests towards the end of the episode what they're currently working on in terms of exciting projects. Is there anything that you're currently working on that you'd like to share?
Yeah, absolutely. Good segue actually, because I just mentioned something about it. At Reflect Digital, we're working on this research piece, and we have already put 3/4 of it out already, called Search Pulse, which I wrote the executive summary for, and I strongly urge people to read it. It's a document where we talk about how people's attitudes, search behaviors are changing, where we think, having surveyed and polled the industry, where people are, how people's attitudes to AI are, how people of different ages search, and we keep producing that piece of research, and we're just working on the fourth quarter. We're just beginning work on the fourth quarter now. But there's some really insightful stuff in there, and obviously I'm going to say that because I'm biased, but genuinely when I read the finished document, I was like, didn't know that. Like, for example, 18 to 44-year-olds will search in a much different way. And again, it sounds obvious, but they'll be in specific places. I won't tell you where. You read the document and find that out. But then people who are over a certain age will search completely differently. And we distilled that down into 4 main motivations. I just did a podcast recently where I spoke about that in depth, where traditional SEO tools will say, oh, this person has informational intent or commercial intent or transactional. I think it's different now. We found, I'll give you one, for example. There's one that's called taste tuning, where people are just refining their taste. And you only get that on certain channels, which again, read the document and it'll tell you where. You'll only get that on certain channels. So adopting like a Google SEO first mindset isn't always going to work. Why do I think that's important? Why do I think people should read it? It's because in the executive summary, I said words to the effect of, I get it, you log on to social media every day and the industry's changed. I'm led by a phrase that I heard at a conference a long time ago, which has stuck with me, which said something like, you'll go to bed a digital expert, but you'll wake up a novice because something has changed overnight. And it's so true. And if you're in-house B2B, especially in that world where things don't move as quick as B2C, you can be overwhelmed by the vast sea of knowledge that's out there. That's on you then, whether you're agency or brand side. It's probably worse if you're brand side, I would say. Certainly if you're in a solo team or a small team. You can't just take the information at face value. You have to go away. You have to verify the authenticity of it, the authenticity of the person who's presented it. That's a lot. So we created that to take out that heavy lifting for people. And you'll see lots of information that says, be everywhere, be where your customers are, be on this channel, be on all these channels all the time. That's a lot. We have taken those pieces of information and said, we found this. Anybody can tell you that. Any agency or any person worth their salt will tell you older people use search engines differently. We all know that. What we've done is to then say, what can you do with that information? I created that executive summary because the document is over 50 pages long, so people can dip in and out of the channels that they want. The executive summary, I've pulled out 3 key things that I think is important for everyone that we found, which on their own are powerful and great. But I've also added that layer on of what can you do with that information? What does that mean for you? It's not a case of, look at us, we're the best agency ever, we want you to buy our products and services. Absolutely not. There's a lot of bad information and there's a lot of depth of information out there. Some of it you can just be turned off by. So the point I'm making is we found some really interesting things that will benefit the industry as a whole and will move the needle for brands genuinely. What we've also done is taken out the heavy lift and said, what can you do from this? And on a personal level, I do that in my conference talks as well. I'll always give some people something they can do tomorrow, something they can do next week, and something they should be thinking about for next year. So the point is, get that document. I also haven't mentioned yet, which I will now, that again, if you don't have an hour or so to read it, like I said, people are time poor. We've created an AI agent as well. And you can literally start asking the questions of the agent to say, well, how should I start marketing to 44-year-olds? Or what is the general opinion on how much people trust AI as a whole? We could spend ages talking about AI. Not a lot of people are talking about trust in AI. People don't trust it. Again, everybody knows AI hallucinates and will get you wrong information. Everybody's saying that. We tell you what you can do when that happens and how you can verify the authenticity of it. That's what sets us apart, because we give people things to do. And I'll end that by saying you can get it at searchpulse.reflectdigital.co.uk.
No, that's,
or I'll drop you the link and you can share
that's
it.
definitely piqued my interest. That.
Yeah, search polls. Search polls.
Search Pulse.
Pulse.
Pulse. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely check that out. I think
I'll drop you the link to it if you want. You can share it in the show notes or whatever. But even yourselves, have a read, because there's some really interesting stuff in there. The point, like I said, that stood out for me, the bits about trust. Like I had an idea. People are a bit skeptical of AI. Certainly people of an older age are a little bit skeptical of AI.
I've watched too much Terminator, Skynet. I'm thinking of Skynet.
But we tell you what you can do with that information. It's like, again, it's sink or swim. Oh, I'm not going to market to people who are over 40 because they don't trust, or I'm not going to use AI to market to people over 40 because they don't trust it. We know they're going to be on this channel where they probably trust it a little bit more. So I'm going to adopt my strategy and approach to do that, to reach them differently. So that's where it comes from. But yeah, personally, I'd strongly recommend checking it out. It's a tool I wish I had when I was very junior in the industry, because if I think back, the amount of time, and hopefully you both agree, the amount of time you spend researching, getting information, but then the best marketers have to spend that extra bit of time actually checking the authenticity of it. The thing I'll leave you with there is there's 2 hugely viral posts on LinkedIn that I've seen recently. One of them, the image, it was a lot of text, but the image was, agencies will be dead in a year. Hundreds of engagement, hundreds of comments and whatever. It blew up, and it was because this person was saying AI is going to take away a lot of the things that agencies do. The agency model will be dead. On face value, you sat there thinking, God, I'm in an agency. I might have to leave within a year now. But then you do that extra bit of digging and think, well, the person that posted this is an AI consultant. So it's in their interest to start telling people about AI and getting them interested in it, and subconsciously to try and attract them towards it. And there's another post, it's exactly the same, but it's completely the opposite, that said agencies will thrive in a year, for example. And again, you look at it and think, well, actually this person's from an agency and is a consultant. That's what separates good from great. But I could talk your head off about this stuff. Genuinely, you'll have to kick me out.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, LinkedIn is an interesting place to be.
I think for B2B, yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about it a lot, but LinkedIn and B2B, they kind of go hand in hand. But I will say, as one last thing, when it comes to generating leads from B2B, don't discount Meta or Facebook. Quality will be lower. That's where good SDRs and everything else come in. You can still get good leads from Facebook and Meta and their services, for sure. The drum I've banged in the few B2B businesses that I'm in, it's like, oh, you're discounting this. It'll cost us more. We'll do a bit more work, but I bet you they'll convert down the line, and they do. Yeah. Free tip for you.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. For listeners who want to get in touch with you or follow your work, where can they find you?
I'm on LinkedIn. It's just /Azeem A1. To be honest, hands up, I haven't looked at my own SEO for a long time for my own website. But you should just be able to search, how can I contact Azeem? And I'll either appear in the AI overviews or my website will be amongst the top. A while ago, I was in an ongoing battle with the jewelers from London who have the same name as me, and we were trading top spot when you search for how can I contact Azeem. So if you want to help me out, click that. But yeah, at Azeem Digital on most platforms, but LinkedIn is where I'm at a lot. Just sure, how can I contact Azeem? And I've put so much stuff out on the internet that you'll probably find me somewhere.
No, that's great. Awesome. No, thanks so much for that, Azeem.
No, thank you.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure. I knew I'd enjoy it, and I've enjoyed it even more than I have. And I wish you both the best of success with this. I'm going to be listening and watching this intently. And if you don't get to that episode 1000, I'm coming straight back.
Guys, if you want to learn about B2B and how to grow your B2B brand, you now know where to find Azeem. If you got a ton of value from this episode, be sure to follow the podcast, and we shall see you in the next episode. But until then, have a good time, guys.
And if you are an e-commerce or B2B brand that's looking for growth, be sure to get in touch. We've got space just for a few more clients before the end of this year. And we only work with clients that are a great fit for us, and hopefully we're a great fit for you. So yeah, be sure to get in touch and let us know. Thank you.